Hello, I am Grok the Spock, and this is the second episode of The Fat and the Brian. Today, I am interweaving two different lists, what I think are the top 5 worst and top 5 best comic book films. Let's start with the number 5 worst comic book film.
Batman and Robin, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Uma Thurman, and Alicia Silverstone. Rated PG-13 for being so fucking bad my eyes bleed when I watch this movie. I don't know why it's even rated PG-13. There's no violence worthy of any rating besides a G, and there's really no bad language. This film has also caused me to kill several babies. I plead the fifth. Oh yeah, stay cool, bud boy. Fun fact, Patrick Stewart was slated to portray Mr. Freeze until it was decided that Mr. Freeze should look as if he was chiseled from a glacier. So Sir Patrick moved on to a better, but still not good, comic book film as another bald character, Professor X. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Now, I tried to avoid reviewing this film because every other film critic out there, from the nostalgia critic to Harry Knowles, has lambasted the shit out of this film, but I couldn't help it. Also, this film deserves everything it gets. Batman and Robin tells the tale of the dynamic duo trying to stop Rogues Gallery members Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and Robin from taking over the world by means of freezing everything and making plants grow. Oh yeah, and Bane's super awesome personality change. But at the same time, Batman gets jealous when he finds out that Robin would rather die by kissing Uma Thurman than sucking his bat dick again. First of all, isn't the plan to take over the world redundant? I mean, in Pokemon, grass types are weak against ice types. Secondly, I think Joel Schumacher slipped Bane into this film to piss people off. This movie just looks like it was made for the sole purpose of failing. Mr. Freeze is the Terminator with schizophrenia, Bruce Wayne doesn't give two shits about Alfred, Robin is 40 years old and still pretends he's one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Batgirl isn't even Commissioner Gordon's daughter. They had two of the most badass Batman villains in their grasp and failed to utilize them at all. The only thing they got right was how sexy Poison Ivy is. Stupid, almost no story, zero character development. Actually, there is a ton of character de-evolution. Bat nipples, bat crotches, bat butts, and Coolio. Horrible film, but if you haven't seen it, you must watch it just to see firsthand how bad this movie is. Oh yeah, and George Clooney, this film is why Superman works alone. Now to the number 5 best comic book film. The Avengers, starring Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Samuel L. Jackson, and Tom Hiddleston. Rated PG-13 for being super awesome, sweet boner-inducing close-ups of Scarlett Johansson's badonkey-donk, the Hulk destroying everything, and shawarma. Fun fact, this was the first Marvel film to be distributed by Walt Disney Pictures after Disney acquired Marvel Comics. Now all Disney needs to do is buy Star Trek and DC Comics. Then we can have the most epic and badass crossover of all time. On second thought, please leave Star Trek alone, Disney. The Avengers tells the story of Nick Fury, leader of the secret government agency known as S.H.I.E.L.D., recruiting Thor, the Incredible Hulk, Captain America, and Iron Man to form a team of superheroes to stop Loki and his army, the Chitauri, from taking over Earth. Again, I try not to review this film because almost everyone who has seen it has the same opinion about it. They like it, a lot. But I just couldn't ignore this one and had to put it somewhere on my list. This film so far is one of the most important films based on a comic book. It was scary for me to even think about this film while it was under production, because this movie was either going to be one of two extremes, really bad or really good. I mean, this film was going to have 4 major superheroes who starred in their own separate films previously, vying for equal screen time in this film. That's what I couldn't wrap myself around. Then I saw it. To describe what played before my eyes at the theater with one word, brilliant. I love a film with a simple, direct, but coherent plot, and The Avengers takes the cake. The story is what it is and nothing else. The Avengers have to stop Loki from being a needlessly overconfident asshole. Period. My favorite part of the film is the chemistry between the characters. It was perfect. The conflict between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers was truly suspenseful. Nick Fury using the death of Phil Coulson to inspire the team to coalesce is both infuriating and gratifying. The scene where Stark almost sacrifices himself by flying into space and blowing everything to hell was heartbreaking. But what made the movie, in my opinion, was after Bruce Banner transformed into the Hulk and destruction commenced, all of our heroes joined together in a defiant circle ready to face and die battling a seamlessly unbeatable enemy. If you haven't seen this film, why? Go watch the damn thing, like right now. And for those who don't want to watch this film, you hate everything, including puppies and ice cream. Yeah. Now, the number 4 worst comic book film. X-Men The Last Stand, starring Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Femke Janssen, Ian McKellen, Kelsey Grammer, and a lot of other people that don't matter. Rated PG-13 because that's a safe rating for a film that wants to sell toys. Also, I think a no-holds-barred X-Men film would be awesome. Plus, damn near every character fucking dies. Fun fact, a never-released opening shows the origin of Juggernaut. It takes place at the end of the Epic Tale Euro trip and shows Vinnie Jones's angry Manchester United fan character being kidnapped and pumped full of Stallone and Schwarzenegger mojo. And everyone knows from Expendables 2 that a combination of Stallone and Schwarzenegger makes an unstoppable Juggernaut. Hence the name. X-Men The Last Stand tells the story of how Jean Grey rises from the dead as the Dark Phoenix and teams up with Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants and starts fucking shit up. I really don't like this movie, for a lot of reasons. First, some smaller points. Juggernaut is comparatively scrawny. Cyclops is an emo bitch who whines and throws tantrums instead of channeling the pain and anger of losing the woman he loves into becoming a better superhero. There are scenes dedicated to introducing characters that have no importance to the story whatsoever, when at the same time they could have used the extra screen time to instead focus on the existing characters and develop them more and maybe develop the story beyond pure cliché. Uninteresting love triangle subplots, boring dialogue, under-par acting by people who really aren't that bad in the first place, and damn near everyone fucking dies. I'll give you an example of why I don't like this film. This scene basically shows you how the rest of the film will be. This scene is in the beginning. Now, when the film was in development, we were promised Sentinels. I didn't like the first 2 films that much, so the Sentinel news gave me some hope for this film. Anyway, so the beginning shows Wolverine, Storm, Kitty Pryde, and Colossus in an awesome post-apocalyptic war-torn area. Awesome! I'm already hooked. You hear loud bangs in the background. Wolverine, with claws at the ready, asks Colossus to throw him into the murky yonder at something we can't see. Several seconds later, a giant robotic head falls to the ground and rolls into view. A fucking Sentinel! Hell yes! Then the world around them disappears into thin air. They're on a holodeck, for Christ's sake, from Star Trek. Just because Jean-Luc Picard is in this film does not mean you can steal from Star Trek. Come up with your own ideas. Anyway, instantly my faith was gone. Not only did nothing really happen in that it was a cheap way to get people interested, in this version of the X-Men, the Sentinels are figments of their imagination. One more thing that bothered me about this scene was that after the simulation, Storm starts bitching to Wolverine about how they need to work more as a team. It's the 3rd film and you guys still aren't a goddamn team. These films shouldn't be called X-Men. They should be angry mutants fighting. The only thing good to come out of this film was Kelsey Grammer's performance as Beast. Who knew Fraser Crane could be a badass? One more thing. Why the fuck is Angel in this movie? Well, now for the number 4 best comic book film. Hulk vs. Wolverine, starring the voices of Fred Tatasciore, Bryce Johnson, Stephen Blum, and Nolan North. Rated PG-13 for being one of the most badass cartoons ever, even for a short film, and Deadpool being awesome. Fun fact, this film was made as a fuck you to the people responsible for X-Men Origins Wolverine, because this film actually shows how Wolverine and Deadpool are supposed to be. Weapon 11, eat your heart out. Hulk vs. Wolverine is literally that. After a small town is destroyed by the Hulk, Wolverine goes on the hunt to take him down. In the middle of it, Wolverine and the Hulk get taken captive by an evil scientist from Wolverine's past who intends to turn the Hulk into the ultimate weapon. It would have been just fine if this short film was dedicated to just the Hulk and Wolverine beating the shit out of each other for a half hour. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that? But the writers took it a step further by squeezing in a great story, pure emotion, and awesome voiceover acting. One of the great things about this movie is how it shows Wolverine's inner turmoil after being forcibly dragged back into his past. Also, it shows just how much the Hulk and Wolverine are so much like each other and that the battle between these two foes will be endless. But my favorite thing about this film is that my favorite Marvel character is shown in a truly respectful way. Deadpool! Yes! He was stupid, funny, arrogant, and an asshole who didn't give a shit about anything. Plus, it's always great seeing Deadpool piss off other major Marvel characters because he knows that nothing can happen to him. He also didn't have swords coming out of his arms or lasers coming out of his fucking eyes. Thank Roddenberry. Now for the number 3 worst comic book film. Fantastic Four, starring Ian Griffith, Jessica Alba, Chris Evans, Michael Chiklis, and Julian McMahon. Rated PG-13 because Dr. Doom shoots someone with lightning or whatever, and a huge gaping hole is left straight through this dude's body. Jaws was PG and showed a severed leg. Get the fuck over it. Fun fact, Dr. Doom likes men. In Fantastic Four, 5 people go to space. 3 scientists, 1 astronaut, and a horny wannabe Power Rangers pilot. So the Sun, deciding that this film already sucks, spits a solar flare at the space station they're on to kill them. Instead, they transform into crazy mutant monsters, including one that looks like a Down syndrome kid who had a stroke, the Thing. Anyway, one of the scientists, Dr. Doom, becomes jealous of one of the other scientists, Reed Richards, and vows to kill him and the other 3, who subsequently form a superhero group they don't want to be in, called the Fantastic Four. Then they fight the most unepic, anticlimactic, claustrophobic battle in comic book movie history. God, this film is terrible. The acting sucks. Why are you with him? You're supposed to be with me. Well, you work too hard for my taste, so I went with someone who steals other people's work and has lots of money. I can't believe that went over your head. The story is dumb. You are my friend, but you're better than me. So I'm going to take my conveniently evil last name, not be clever at all with it, and just use my actual professional title, Dr. Doom, and become an obvious supervillain. No character development at all. They start off as either whiny pussies or arrogant morons and stay that way for the rest of the film. And why the hell is the Thing so depressed anyway? He was just as ugly before he became, well, a discarded Pokemon. Maybe he needs Garth Brooks to sing him some inspiration. Now the number 3 best comic book film. Spawn, starring Michael Jai White, John Leguizamo, and Martin Sheen. Rated PG-13 because no one wants to see a super violent, awesome film, I guess. Plus, Spawn is ugly as fuck. Fun fact, Todd McFarlane is working on a script for a new Spawn film that he says will be R-rated, but pushing NC-17. Spawn should just drag all those MPAA douche monkeys to hell. I know, not a lot of people like the Spawn film, but I don't care because this isn't a review of what you like. Spawn is about a man named Al Simmons, a family man with a fucked up job. Well, his boss kills him and then he's sent to hell, only to return as a soldier of hell named Spawn, who is back to exact revenge on the people who deserve it. Now, just because I like this film doesn't mean I don't acknowledge its faults, which are plenty. The biggest one is how this movie can't live up to its potential, instead trying to influence parents to let their children see it so they can sell merchandise. Spawn is not made for kids, you Hollywood ass-mouths. Yes, I know there is an R-rated director's cut, but it was only made to make the fans happy. There's only 2.5 minutes of additional footage, and you're not watching a drastic change. The visuals are what you'd expect from a Spawn film. I mean, when you see this mask grow and envelop his face, or his chains snap around, or his cape erupting from his shoulders like magma from a volcano is just chilling. Or when the Violator reveals his true form and he and Spawn have a claustrophobic but awesome fight in Hobo Alley. Just mind-blowing. But the reason I like this movie so much is because of the heart that was put into it. Everyone tried really hard to make this a good movie, and you can feel it. For what these people were given, they tried passionately to give the fans what they wanted, and in my eyes, they succeeded. The standout of this film is John Leguizamo's performance as the Violator. Damn, he was funny, disgusting, and you couldn't help but become excited every time he was on the screen. He expressed the sinisterness of the character perfectly. This movie also makes you wonder what would happen to any one of us if or when we died. Would we have the chance to come back and see this world change since our departure and have to live with all the anger and sadness boiling inside? We'll never know. Great film, I highly recommend it. On to the number 2 worst comic book film. Ghost Rider, starring Nicolas Cage, Eva Mendes, Wes Bentley, Sam Elliott, Donald Logue, and Peter Fonda. Rated PG-13 because who gives a shit? This movie sucks and you shouldn't watch it. Fun fact, Nicolas Cage sucks. God, I love that image. Ghost Rider is about some kid who sells his soul to the devil to save his dad. But that backfires and he grows up to be a skull on fire that resembles Nicolas Cage and he tries to kill the devil or something. This film is an insult to the awesome comic book. And whose bright idea was it to cast Nicolas Cage as Johnny Blaze? He is the anti-badass and an absolutely horrendous actor. A dumb, cliche story that takes everything good from the comic and twists it around, turning it from the story about a man who literally has to fight off his personal demons, to a movie that tries to sell itself using fire and having Nicolas Cage make crazy faces. I really have nothing more to say about this film, just talking about it pisses me off. Now the number 2 best comic book film. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, starring Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Kieran Culkin, Allison Pill, Chris Evans, Brandon Routh, Jason Schwartzman, and Ellen Wong. Rated PG-13 for that hot mysterious chick, hot Asian chick, hot emotionless barista chick, hot preppy hipster rock chick, hot drummer chick, hot little sister, and hot lesbian chick. Fun fact, every Evil X has a number identifying which Evil X they are. For example, the Katayanagi twins are numbers 5 and 6. Right before his battle with Scott Pilgrim, they turn their music up to level 11. 5 plus 6, get it? While Scott Pilgrim wears, drinks, or is referred to as Zero because he is not an Evil X. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is about a young Canadian in a garage band who falls in love with a mysterious girl. But in order to be with her, he has to fight and destroy all 7 of her Evil X's. This film is so clever I can't help but smile just thinking about it. Plus, I love Michael Cera. When we first locked eyes in Arrested Development, I fell in love. Also, as a lover of old-school video games, I love that there are a ton of references to them in this movie. Several examples of the band's name in the film is named after a classic Mario baddie. You can also hear the ring noise from Sonic the Hedgehog. Young Neil mentions The Legend of Zelda and Tetris. Oh, it was magical. Also, the other little things throughout the film, such as scores popping up on the screen during a fight, Scott having to use an extra life, and the P-bar, and the big VS for verses right before a fight starts. Shivers, yeah. This film is filled with very funny moments, deliciously dry but witty dialogue, imaginative original story, topped off by great performances across the board by actors in either small or big roles, including a funny cameo by Thomas Jane and Clifton Collins Jr. as the vegan police. This film is a great investment of both time and emotion, and I highly recommend this film to anyone who wants to have an adventure sitting on the couch. Now let's scoot to the number 1 worst comic book film. Catwoman. Let's just move on to the next one. The number 1 best comic book film. Batman Under the Red Hood, starring Bruce Greenwood, Jensen Ackles, John DiMaggio, Neil Patrick Harris, and John Isaacs. Rated PG-13 because this cartoon kicks most other live-action films in the ass. Also, a bag of severed gangster heads. Who doesn't like that? Fun fact, this film is based on a storyline from 1988 called A Death in the Family, where readers could call in to either save or kill off Jason Todd, the second Robin. Thank you, fans, for creating one of Batman's most intriguing villains. This film is about the death of the second Robin, Jason Todd, at the hands of the Joker. Now, Bruce Wayne, who still cannot forgive himself over Robin's death, must now take down a new villain, another vigilante who kills, named the Red Hood. But there is much more than meets the eye with this newcomer, and as Batman is soon to find out. This movie impacted me like no other film has. To me, when the beginning of a movie can bring a tear to your eye and make you invest that much emotion, that's something. Better yet, that's powerful. It's so painful to watch the Joker beat Robin half to death and then watch the explosion that ultimately takes his life. The voice acting is some of the best I've ever seen, and the story seems like someone took a jar of tangible emotion and spread it on our faces like it was butter. It relies on the emotion throughout, whether it be Ra's al Ghul's heart-wrenching story on how he regretted hiring the Joker and how he chose to reanimate the dead Robin using a Lazarus pit out of guilt, or the anger Jason feels towards Bruce, the scene where Jason captures the Joker and the climactic battle between, essentially, Batman and Robin. This film is also the best interpretation I've seen of Batman yet on film. Every character has a purpose in this story, whether to move the plot along or to provide emotional depth. And the Joker, oh man, the Joker. This version seems to be a combination of the classic animated series Joker and Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. Just pure evil. It's kind of disappointing that this film wasn't released in theaters. It deserves the same circumstances every other theatrical film ever made. It's the perfect movie. That's all for this episode of The Fat and the Brian. Stay tuned for the next one. Until then, bye.